G'day boys and girls, I have got a Protoss vs Terran here today. It's going to be on Yonsu LE, and our Protoss player up at the top right hand side, our red Protoss from Team Axiom Esports, of course one of the very big and very fan-favorited teams because of the way they've been set up, some of their fantastic players and the fantastic support they have. It is Crank. Now Crank is a Korean player, of course, who was... where was he on before Axiom? Oh god, I can't remember. It's been so long. You know, there's been so many dramas relating to some of the players that were and are on Axiom that I've completely forgotten where the distribution came from. But either way, let's forget about that. Crank is just a fantastic Protoss player. Really crisp skills on this guy, and I know it's not exactly something new to hear about Korean players, but when it comes to I really like watching his stream. He has just some really crisp play, very on the dot. Bam! Here's my timings down. Down things go as in terms of buildings and that kind of stuff. And it's one thing I also do like about what he does is building placement. Now, it's not like a necessarily a huge topic that people talk about, but he generally tends to have some really good building placement. I'm hoping we get to see that here today. But his opponent down on the bottom left-hand side of Yonsu, in the green part of town, is our blue Terran from Clarity Gaming. It is Elhaym. And Elhaym himself also quite a crisp player, but also very wonderfully tactically minded when it comes to multi-pronged harass. He's got just this excellent drop control and generally tends to be all over the map when it comes to harassing his opponent. We see it a lot in his TVP and in his TVZ as well. But he also has, you know, some very varied builds that can come along. And it looks as if Elhaym is he's going to go for a second Rax. Now, with this 12 gas that also came out, we are going to see some Reapers coming along. Of course, we've got number 1 on the way. The SCV is going to scout through, and we'll see. The things are all normal on the Protoss end of the map in the snowy regions here. But we'll see what happens, because this second Rax is really interesting. Reapers, of course, are a fantastic unit for jumping in and harassing people. But against Protoss, you don't see many people getting, you know, a huge amount of damage done. Of course, in lower leagues, you do tend to have a lot more success with Reapers getting work done. However, at this level, it's, you know, I'd be remiss to say that I expect to get, like, multiple probe kills in terms of, you know, like, anything above 3 or 4. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here as Elhaym is going to look to try and get some damage done. The first Reaper is on the way, had to take out the first probe that was building the pylon. Of course, we do see a cancel from Crank, as he makes sure that he doesn't waste any of those precious minerals that he's gathered at the start. But just on building placement, just before we get to the exciting bits, we've got Crank just walling off this side. You don't often see people sort of making sure that a Reaper has very little space to maneuver, and this is really important, I find, especially on this map where you have like so many points of entry. Of course, these Reapers can come up this way, they can come up through here as well, not to mention on the natural, on the backside there, they can jump in. So if you block off one of the pathways here, the Reapers can't just dance around inside the main base as you would normally see them do. So I really do like the way he does that. I see that quite a lot when Crank's playing, and I think it's something which many Protoss players should take on board when it comes to defending against Terran players. But here we go. Reapers now jumping inside the main base. There was one out the front, so these two are very surprising to Crank. He's probably saying, whoa, where did these guys come from? There was one at the front door, but now now there's 2 over here, and we are going to have a total of 4, I believe. There's a 4th one, so we will have 4 of these Reapers out. We'll have to see some nice micro here from Elhaym. One of these guys is very hurt. If Crank targets it down, he might... Oh, just gets out of there. Nice micro from both of these players. Crank's attempting to keep that Stalker alive. Once the Stalker's gone, then it becomes very easy for these Reapers to get work done. And now, as we can see, Elhaym doesn't actually know that that wall block is there, and he's going to come across and he's going to say, whoa, that's a dead end. We can't actually go that way. So the Reapers have to sort of dance back around, and Elhaym does get caught. It's tagged by the probes, and they say, you're in. But the Mothership Core is also across the other side of the map, looking to get some harassment done, but a couple of Marines that are here do force the Mothership Core to recall back. And let's look at the overall damage that was done there. 8 probes have been killed off, so really impressive stuff to be able to get some work done with those Reapers. The 4 Reapers that came in and very much surprised Crank. I'd say you probably you know, made a gasping expression when he saw that those extra Reapers had come across when they first jumped in. But this has given Elhaym a little bit of time to set up his economy. We've got his natural just starting up right now. A few Marines have popped out. We will have a Marauder on the way. Stim is around about halfway done. So this is a kind of point where you would wonder, is Elhaym going to push across and try and force the issue because he knows that the Mothership Core has used up some of its energy? Or is he just going to wait for Stim and then proceed across? It looks like he is going to go. I don't think Stim's going to finish by the time that he gets there, but it will finish halfway through the battle. So if Elhaym does just push straight through, he is going to get a little bit of damage done. There's only 2 Stalkers here, not to mention the Mothership Core as well. So we will see what damage can be done here by Elhaym. He wants to force out a bit of a fight here. Just spend a few more minerals on creating some units, maybe try and use up the Mothership Core energy if possible. But Stim is not done just yet, but we will see the Marines now pushing forwards. They're going to try and chase after that Mothership Core. Perhaps not. Oh, he should still get some damage done. I think that pushing up is a really good idea if Stim was done, but unfortunately Stim wasn't done, but he still is able to get a huge amount of damage done. As we can see here, lots of work done, and wow, even the Mothership Core gets very, very close to death. But again, a Photon Overcharge forced down. A lot of probes are killed there. We've got 19 workers killed in total from Elhaym, so that's really, really well done by him. As I said, I do kind of feel like maybe just waiting another second or two for Stim to complete would have been a little bit more successful. You probably would have got the Mothership Core, but you know, it doesn't really matter at this point. Still 19 workers killed off. We've now got Elhaym sitting on a very comfortable 3 racks here. We've got +1 to weapons on the way. Medevacs are now coming through as well, and he is going to really start to kick things into overdrive now as the natural base starts to saturate, and we do start to get a lot of income coming through from our Terran player from Canada. So Crank, well, what's he going to do in this scenario? Well, we can see that he's going to have to invest in some tech. He has to go down the safe path of the Colossus. Of course, you know, you could look at going towards the Templar tech here, but I kind of feel like the delay on his economy, like we can see his second gas of the natural only just went up, and wow, just sort of mis-rallying some of those workers there. But because of the delay on some of these gas, as we can see, it's barely mind any at the moment. It means that going for a Templar play is going to be very costly and very slow. So I think that the Colossus is a little bit more of a safe bet, but Crank is going to have to deal with some drops. He did see them coming in, this Observer in a beautiful position to provide some sight on what's going on here. Mothership Core does not have enough energy for an overcharge. It's nearly there, but there are a few units here to defend. They don't exactly have any upgrades, so yeah, I mean, like, Elhaym has to evacuate, but gets a nice amount of damage done. Forces out a Guardian shield there as well, which is quite nice. But now, as we can see, Elhaym just sort of sitting in a very comfortable spot, wanting to get these drops rolling. We've got his economy here at the natural now really starting to boost up as well, with a total of 51 SCVs out of the map. Of course, it has his heals as well. Crank going to target down one of these medevacs, very nicely done. The rest of Elhaym's units on the ground are now going to try and micro about. Will they be able to get some more damage done? It looks like one of the Marauders is going to escape to the top here. This Marine is just running for his life, trying to find a safe spot. Going to be picked up now, and I would assume that this is going to drop out, but I mean, speaking of dropping, Elhaym all over the place with these drops. Some work at the natural being done, and this medevac is still alive. Are you kidding me? Those tickle beams on the sentries just do not do enough damage. I remember when they used to do 8 damage, I think it was. Yeah, they used to do 8 damage, and it was, I'm not even kidding, it was overpowered against Mutalisks back in a very, very early Wings beta. And they had to change it because people were just defending Mutalisks with sentries, and it was kind of weird. But in terms of this game, of course, we've got Elhaym now moving out towards his third base. His bio is now really kicking up a notch. We've got double starports now up and running. A total of 5 racks, which we'd probably maybe expect another 1 or 2 to go down in a second here. But once he's got his third base, then he'll definitely be able to produce off of all of that. He's got a lot of medevacs out on the field. As we can see, there's a total of 6, which means that he's going to have a lot of health regeneration here. And it looks as if he is going to try and jump in. There is a Colossus that's kind of exposed, so if he can jump on top of that, that'd be quite nice. But aims and takes down one of the sentries that's here. These medevacs, a couple of these medevacs are very low, so he's going to have to be very careful with them. But the production still coming along here from Elhaym. including the Vikings now. We've got some Marauders and Marines. We've still got, there are those couple of extra ranks that I was looking for. And now Drop's also pushing across the right-hand side of the map. A few units are prepared here. Some Stalkers and some Zealots. The Colossus has also come along. I doubt that, yeah, Elhaym's going to have to just get out of there. No real ability to do anything there. And unfortunately, he has still not figured out that there is an observer there. I kind of like that position. I think that'd be really difficult to spot because of the tall grass. That'd be weird to see what happens there with that one. But Elhaym now has his third base. The production is now starting to ramp up with those extra racks now coming down. We've got a tech lab. We'll probably have another tech lab over here as we will probably prepare for Ghost Tech very soon. I would assume we'd just sort of be worried about the possible switchover of Templar, but at this point, Crank has had such a low economy that it's going to be very hard for him to do that. He's still sitting on 2 bases, his third is now going up, but he's going to have a very difficult time with Elhaym's constant multi-pronged harassment over here on the right-hand side. These Stalkers and Zealots are going to have to sit here and try and whittle down these units before they get anything done. Blinking across takes out one of the medevacs. The Marauders and Marines that are here are still going to try and get some damage done. They probably won't get too much. We should see a load up there, but unfortunately Elhaym a little bit busy across the map. He's now starting to move his main force of units across towards the third base of Crank. Once this third base is denied, or I'm assuming it is going to be denied given that we've only got 3 Colossi and some Zealots, this game is going to be pretty much in the bag here for Elhaym of Clarity Gaming, but he's got his third. He's nicely saturated here. A huge counter worth of 71 SCVs out for the Terran player. Meanwhile, 56 for Crank, and I mean, he's getting charged, but you know, at this point, it's going to be very hard to save this game here for Crank. 2-2 on the upgrades are also on the way, and there are some of those Colossi. He's going for that Stalker and Colossus-based style, so it's this is a very powerful style when used correctly and when you position correctly. This is a very fragile kind of makeup of units here. Of course, the Colossi, when Marines and Marauders jump on top of them, they will just disintegrate. When Stalkers also have Marines and Marauders on top of them, they just fall apart. But that said, if you can position correctly with your Colossi, have nice spreads, use some blink effectively, this is actually a very powerful strategy, especially once the upgrades start to come out. But the problem now is that Elhaym has decided it's go time, bringing out some of these SCVs. He has a huge economic lead and has just said, let's do it, baby. He's got enough SCVs back at home to still continue on, and will take out the third base. That is now done. This is going to be very interesting to see how much damage these Colossi can get done. However, they're in a bit of an unfortunate position, but they will come out and just cut through a lot of the SCVs and the units here. Elhaym is going to lose quite a lot of his SCVs. We see him drop down to around about 40 in the SCV count, but the Colossi are now starting to fall apart. The Vikings have been targeted down by Crank. Very nicely done. But it looks as if the damage has been done. I would say Elhaym's just going to be able to stem up, and this is what we were talking about. When the Marine Marauder gets on top of all of these units, they are very fragile and they will fall apart. And despite the Photon overcharge on the Nexus, the Stalkers on the high ground, I'm pretty sure that Elhaym has got this one. Stems forward, fakes out the Templar Archives, so maybe not, just sort of targets down some of the units. GG from Crank. And that will be it for this game. Hope you all enjoyed that one. It was a good display of some of that multi-pronged harassment I was talking about from Elhaym, but also that interesting opening, the double Reapers that came out from the 2 racks there, or I suppose 4 Reapers if you want to look at it that way. But either way, interesting game. Hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure you do share and subscribe to the channel and all that cool stuff. I'll catch you all next time. Here. As you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really nicely there. And for minigun, he's been sticking with a much more